this may be, again, an experience of not working with the real top-tier organisations like Pricewaterhouse, I can see represented here, and Accenture and KPMG and Deutsche Bank, who have resources to put into supporting an all-singing, all-dancing security program. But nevertheless, the next tier down of organisations are still household names, organisations who process data on millions of supporters, customers, clients, whatever you want to think of. And in many cases, my experience of working with the IS departments is that they are lacking in the skills, perhaps, that I would have hoped to put together this seamless service to be able to deal with not only the paper side of data protection, but also what we actually do in practice. Sometimes there can be a reliance on external service providers to such an extent that it's sort of there's a reverse of what somebody said the other day, actually, that we can kind of screw our service providers for everything that we want. Well, actually, in a lot of cases, the client is afraid of the service provider and gets screwed the other way, if you'll pardon the expression. So, relying on service providers who maybe don't have it in your, you don't have your best interest necessarily at heart. Also, finding that the IS departments are, to put it politely, overstretched. They've got many demands on their time, as we all have, or under-resourced, or maybe not up to the job. And again, that was my view, that some of the people I've encountered are trying to put in place the actual practical solutions to this, but really not looking at the risk side of things in the same way that I was coming at it from. And therefore, I found it sometimes surprising that I was trying to advise the IS department on what was the appropriate way of tackling particular situations. So just to share some experiences that I've had, and be interesting to know whether anybody else has ever come across these kinds of things. We talked about policy drafting, and I've encountered IS departments drafting the policies, which, I wouldn't necessarily think I'm the right person to draft an IS policy for an organisation. I've come across cases where you would have thousands, maybe that's an over-exaggeration, but tens of policies, statements, guidelines, or whatever on information security, so that if, as a user, you go to your organisation's website or intranet and you're faced with a screen full of guidance notes and documents, as a user, that means I don't know what to do. I won't bother to read any of those. So we talked in the behavioural advertising session about the fact that most users don't do anything, and that's the same when we're at work. So we go to a screen full of policies and think, oh gosh, that looks all a bit much, I just won't bother reading any of those. The other alternative is no policies at all, and I have come across organisations that don't have an information security policy, and again, like I say, I don't necessarily think I'm the right person to draft that, but sometimes the documents that I see are not particularly well crafted, and trying to work together to achieve the results that we're all trying to get to. So specific things I've come across: delaying of encryption projects. I think no one would deny that encryption is a requirement for protecting portable devices. For laptops in particular, lack of resource is cited as the reason why we can't progress with these projects. Not knowing where your laptops are, who in our organisation actually has a laptop? Well, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? So how can we roll out an encryption program if you don't know who's got a laptop, where it is, where's the asset register? And maybe I'm just unlucky, I don't know. Backup systems. This is my favourite one. Yes, there are issues with backup systems where the media are unencrypted, but how about taking home the tape and leaving it on your dining room table and bringing it back the next day? So I've encountered that for real. I know that was reported as a case in the financial services sector, but I've encountered that in another organisation where it was somebody's job to take home the tape in their bag and store it in their bedroom and then bring it back the next day. And then when that person was on holiday, the person who had to take over from that was petrified because they suddenly realised they had all of this data that they were responsible for overnight. Systems where everybody has an admin right, so you can upload whatever you like onto your program, onto your computer. Password changes not being forced, so everybody can have the password that was issued to them on the first day and they just keep that forever. And this is all, standard stuff. This is nothing that you would be surprised to find that the system should make you change your password, but I'm surprised to find perhaps not quite the level of drive maybe to get some standards in place within the IS department. The